Chapter 21 Observation of oneself. Internal self-observation is a practical means to achieve a radical transformation. To know and to observe are different. Many confuse the observation of oneself with knowing. For example, even though we know that we are seated in a living room, this, however, does not signify that we are observing the chair. We know that at a given moment we are in a negative state, perhaps with a problem, worried about this or that matter, or in a state of distress or uncertainty, etc. This, however, does not mean that we are observing the negative state. Do you feel antipathy towards someone? Do you dislike a certain person? Why? You may say that you know that person. Please observe that person. To know is not the same as to observe. Do not confuse knowing with observing. The observation of oneself, which is 100% active, is a way to change oneself. However, knowing, which is passive, is not a way to change oneself. Indeed, knowing is not an act of attention. Yet, the attention directed into oneself, towards what is happening in our interior, is something positive, active. For instance, we may feel antipathy towards a person just because we feel like it, and many times for no particular reason. If we observe ourselves in such a moment, we will notice the multitude of thoughts that accumulate in our mind. We will also notice the group of voices that speak and scream in a disorderly manner and that say many things within our mind, as well as the unpleasant emotions that surge in our interior and the unpleasant taste that all this leaves in our psyche, etc. Obviously, in such a state we also realize that internally we are badly mistreating the person for whom we feel antipathy towards. But, unquestionably, in order to see all of this, we need attention intentionally directed towards the interior of our own selves. This is not a passive attention. Indeed, dynamic attention proceeds from the side of the observer, while thoughts and emotions belong to the side which is observed. All of this causes us to comprehend that knowing is something completely passive and mechanical, in evident contrast with the observation of the self, which is a conscious act. Nevertheless, we are not affirming that mechanical self-observation does not exist. It does, but such a kind of observation has nothing to do with the psychological self-observation to which we are referring. To think and to observe are also very different. Any person can give himself the luxury of thinking about himself all he wants. Yet, this does not signify that he is truly observing himself. We need to see the difference is in action, to discover them in our psyche, to comprehend that a percentage of our own consciousness exists within each one of them, to repent of having created them, etc. Then we shall exclaim, but what is this I doing? Is it saying? What does it want? Why does it torment me with its lust, with its anger, etc.? Then we will see within ourselves the entire train of thoughts, emotions, desires, passions, private comedies, personal dramas, elaborated lies, discourses, excuses, morbidities, beds of pleasure, scenes of lasciviousness, etc. Many times before falling asleep, at the precise instant of transition between vigil and sleep, we feel within our own mind different voices that talk to each other. Those are the differences that must in such moments break all connection with the different centers of our organic machine, so as to then submerge themselves in the molecular world within the fifth dimension. Chapter 22 Chatter. It is urgent, unavoidable and non-excludable to observe our internal chatter and its precise place of origin. Unquestionably, many present as well as future disharmonious and unpleasant psychic states of their cause room in our erroneous internal chatter. Obviously, all that insubstantial, vain wordiness of ambiguous chattering and all harmful, damaging and absurd jabber in general, uttered in this external world, has its origin in our wrong internal gibberish. The esoteric exercise of internal silence exists in Gnosis. Our disciples in Third Chamber know of it. It is not irrelevant to state with complete clarity that internal silence must specifically refer to something precise and definite. This internal silence is achieved when the process of thinking is intentionally exhausted during profound inner meditation. Nevertheless, this is not what we want to explain in the present chapter. To empty the mind or to make it blank in order to achieve internal silence is not what we want to explain in these paragraphs either. The practice of internal silence to which we are referring does not mean to impede something from penetrating into the mind either. Indeed, right now we are talking about something very different, a different kind of internal silence. This is not something vague and ordinary. The internal silence that we want to exercise is related with something that is already in our mind, a person, event, our business or another one's business, what we were told, what such a fellow did, etc., without our interior tongue commenting about these things, without internal discourse. To learn how to remain silent not only with the exterior tongue, but also with the secret, internal tongue, is something extraordinary and marvelous. Many keep quiet externally. However, with their internal tongue they skin their fellow man alive. The internal, poisonous and malevolent chatter produces inner confusion. If one observes wrong internal chatter, one then will see that it is made up of half-truths or of truths that are more or less incorrectly related to each other or of things that were added or omitted unto it. Unfortunately, our emotional life is exclusively based on self-sympathy. To top off so much infamy, we only sympathize with ourselves, with our much beloved ego. Moreover, we feel antipathy and even hatred towards those who do not sympathize with us. We love ourselves too much. We are 100% narcissists. This is irrefutable, indisputable. As long as we continue bottled up in self-sympathy, any development of the being becomes something more than impossible. We need to learn to see others' points of view. It is urgent to know how to place ourselves in the place of others. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. Matthew 7:12. What truly counts in these studies is the manner in which human beings behave internally and invisibly with one another. Unfortunately, and even if we were very courteous and even sincere at times, there is no doubt that invisibly and internally we treat each other very badly. People who are apparently very generous drag their fellow men daily into the secret caves of themselves to do with them whatever they please: abuse, mockery, contempt, etc. Chapter 23. The world of relations. The world of relationships has three very different aspects that we need to clarify in a precise manner. First, we are related with the planetary body, in other words, the physical body. Second, we live on the planet Earth, and by logical consequence we are related with the exterior world and with our personal matters such as relatives, business, money, office matters, profession, politics, etc. Third, we have the relationship of a person with himself. For the majority of people, this kind of relationship does not have the least importance. Unfortunately, people are only interested in the first two kinds of relationships. They look at the third type with the most absolute indifference. Indeed, nourishment, health, money and business constitute the principal worries of the intellectual animal mistakenly called the human being. Now then, it is evident that the physical body as well as worldly matters is exterior to ourselves. The planetary body, physical body, is sometimes sick, sometimes healthy and so on. We always believe that we have some knowledge of our physical body. Yet indeed, not even the best scientists of the world know much about the body of flesh and bone. There is no doubt that the physical body, given its tremendous and complex organization, is certainly much beyond our comprehension. Regarding the second type of relationship, we are always victims of circumstances. It is lamentable that we have not yet learned how to consciously originate circumstances. Many are the people who are incapable of adapting themselves to anything or anyone or to have true success in life. When we think in ourselves in relation with the Gnostic esoteric work, it is then imperative to discover if we are at fault with any of these three types of relationships. A concrete case can come to pass that we become physically ill as a consequence of being incorrectly related with our physical bodies. It can happen that we are incorrectly related with the exterior world. Thus, as a result, we have conflicts, economical and social problems, etc. It can come to pass that we are incorrectly related with ourselves. Accordingly, we suffer deeply due to the lack of inner enlightenment. Obviously, if the lamp of our room is not connected to the electrical installation, our room will be in darkness. Therefore, those who suffer from a lack of inner illumination must connect their mind with the superior centers of their being. Unquestionably, we need to establish correct relationships not only with our planetary body, physical body, and with the exterior world but also with each of the parts of our own being. Pessimistic patience, tired of so many doctors and medicines, no longer desire to be cured. Yet, optimistic patients struggle to live. Many millionaires who lose their fortune gambling in the casino of Monte Carlo commit suicide, while millions of poor mothers work to maintain their children. Innumerable are the depressed aspirants who, due to a lack of psychic powers and inner illumination, have renounced the esoteric work for themselves adversities. Few are the ones who know how to take advantage of during times of rigorous temptations, discouragement and desolation. One must appeal to the intimate remembering of the self. Deep within each one of us is the Aztec Tonantzin, Stella Mans, the Egyptian Isis, God the Mother, waiting for us in order to heal our painful heart. When one gives to oneself the shock of self-remembering, then indeed, a miraculous change in the entire work of the body is produced, so that the cells receive different nourishment,